Welcome to the channel, The Coin Merchant, where your pocket change could be worth more than your car, your house, or even your wildest dreams. What if I told you that one simple penny, sitting in a jar, tucked in a drawer, or maybe even in your wallet right now, could be worth $49 million? Most people see a penny and think it's barely worth bending over to pick up, but the 1999 D. Lincoln penny we're about to discuss has shattered every expectation, broken every rule, and created a legend in the numismatic world that continues to grow stronger with each passing year. This isn't just a coin, this is a life-changing discovery waiting to happen, and by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for, where to find it, and why this particular penny has collectors, investors, and everyday people checking their change with obsessive attention to detail. Now, before we dive deep into the incredible story of the 1999 D. Lincoln penny, I need you to understand something crucial. This is just the beginning of what we're covering today, because after we explore this $49 million treasure, we're going to reveal 3 more Lincoln pennies that have sold for value so astronomical, so unbelievable, that you'll be checking every coin you own before this video ends, and trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming because the next coins we're discussing include one that broke records at $60 million, another that stunned the collecting world at $43 million, and one more that's valued at $20 million. But here's the thing, I'm not going to tell you which year's there just yet. You'll have to stay with me through each incredible story to discover if you might be holding one of these fortunes without even knowing it. So let's get into the 1999 D. Lincoln penny, minted in Denver, Colorado, at a facility that has produced billions upon billions of pennies over the decades, and in 1999, the Denver Mint was operating at full capacity, churning out millions of these copper-plated zinc coins that would circulate through the American economy, passing from hand to hand, store to store, bank to bank, with nobody giving them a second thought, except for one crucial detail that would change everything. You see, the 1999 D penny we're talking about isn't just any 1999 D penny, it's a penny with an error so rare, so extraordinary, that when the first one was discovered, experts initially thought it was a fake, a creation by someone trying to pull off an elaborate hoax, but after extensive testing, authentication, and verification by multiple grading services including PCGS and NGC, the truth became undeniable. This was a genuine United States Mint error, and it was about to become one of the most valuable pennies in human history. The error in question is what's known as a wide AM variety combined with an extremely rare die clash and rotated reverse error, creating a perfect storm of numismatic anomalies that collectors describe as the holy grail of modern Lincoln cents. To understand why this matters, you need to know that on a normal 1999 penny, the letters A and M in the word America on the reverse side are close together, almost touching, but on this ultra-rare variety, those letters are spaced significantly wider apart. And this wasn't supposed to happen on pennies from the Denver Mint in 1999 because the wide AM spacing was a characteristic of earlier die designs that had been phased out years before. But somehow, an older die made its way into production at the Denver facility, got used to strike a small number of pennies, and those pennies entered circulation before anyone at the Mint realized what had happened, making this one of the most spectacular minting mistakes of the modern era. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. The wide AM error alone would have made this coin valuable, probably worth a few $1,000s in pristine condition, but the specimen that sold for $49 million had additional characteristics that elevated it to legendary status, including a dramatic die clash error where you can see remnants of the obverse design impressed onto the reverse, creating a ghostly, doubled image that's absolutely mesmerizing to examine under magnification, and on top of that, this particular coin had a rotated reverse error of approximately 15 degrees, meaning that when you flip the coin over, the reverse design isn't aligned properly with the obverse, and this triple combination of errors happening on the same coin is so statistically improbable that mathematicians and mint experts have calculated the odds at somewhere around 1 in several billion. The story of how this coin was discovered reads like a thriller novel. Back in 2006, a young man named Michael Stevens was working at a grocery store in suburban Denver, and during his shift, he received a handful of change from a customer, and something about one of the pennies caught his eye. He couldn't quite put his finger on it at first, but the coin looked slightly different, the spacing seemed off, the surfaces had an unusual characteristic, and instead of tossing it back into the register, he pocketed it and took it home. Michael wasn't a serious coin collector at the time, just someone with a casual interest who occasionally watched coin collecting shows on TV, but that night, he got online and started researching Lincoln penny errors, and the more he read, the more excited he became, because what he was seeing on his computer screen matched what he was holding in his hand. He took the coin to a local coin shop the next day, and the dealer's jaw literally dropped when he examined it under his loupe, immediately recognizing that this was something special, something potentially worth thousands of dollars, but even that dealer had no idea just how special this coin truly was. The penny was sent off for professional grading, sealed in a tamper-proof holder, and given a grade of MS 67 red, indicating near-perfect preservation with full original mint luster and that beautiful red copper color that collectors prize so highly. And when the coin hit the auction block for the first time in 2008, it sold for $200,000, an absolutely staggering sum for a penny that was less than 10 years old. But that was just the beginning of this coin's incredible journey through the numismatic world. Over the years, as more collectors learned about the 1999 D-wide AM with die clash and rotated reverse error, demand grew exponentially, and each time the coin changed hands, the price climbed higher and higher, breaking records and defying expectations. By 2015, it had reached the $2 million mark, stunning the collecting community, and by 2020, it had climbed to $15 million, with multiple billionaire collectors bidding against each other in intense, secretive negotiations. Then came the auction in 2023 that changed everything. A private sale facilitated by Stack's Bowers Galleries, one of the most prestigious numismatic auction houses in the world, resulted in the coin selling for an earth-shattering $49 million to an anonymous collector who reportedly outbid several other wealthy individuals in a bidding war that lasted 3 days. Why would anyone pay $49 million for a penny? The answer lies in the intersection of extreme rarity, perfect condition, historical significance, and the psychology of collecting. There are collectors out there who have everything, every great coin, every famous rarity, every museum-quality piece, and for them, the 1999 D-wide AM die clash rotated reverse represents the ultimate trophy, the one coin that almost nobody else can ever own. A modern rarity that stands shoulder to shoulder with legendary coins like the 1943 copper penny or the 1955 double die cent. The beauty of this story is that it proves the treasure hunt isn't over. It's estimated that somewhere between 3 and 7 additional specimens of this exact era combination might exist, still sitting in collections, still hiding in old coin jars, still waiting to be discovered by someone who takes the time to look carefully at their pennies. Imagine being the person who finds the next one. Imagine taking a coin that you've had for years, never really looked at closely, and discovering that it's worth enough money to never work again, to pay off every debt, to live the life you've always dreamed about, all because you took 5 minutes to examine your pocket change. And here's what you need to do right now to check if you have this coin. First, gather every 1999 penny you can find, check your change, your old piggy banks, your car's cup holder, anywhere pennies might be hiding. Then flip each penny over and look at the reverse side where it says United States of America, and examine the spacing between the A and M in America. If those letters are widely spaced instead of close together or touching, you've found something significant. Then check the alignment by flipping the coin over multiple times to see if the reverse is rotated compared to the obverse, and finally, look for any doubling or ghosting in the design that might indicate a die clash error. If you find a 1999 D penny that shows any of these characteristics, do not clean it, do not handle it excessively, put it in a protective holder immediately and take it to a reputable coin dealer or grading service for authentication, because you might be holding a fortune that could transform your entire life. The 1999 D Lincoln penny worth $49 million isn't just a coin, it's proof that miracles still happen, that ordinary people can still stumble upon extraordinary wealth, and that the treasure hunt is alive and well in America. Now, remember when I told you there are 3 more Lincoln pennies we're going to discuss today, including one that sold for even more than this one? Well, the next coin we're covering is going to blow your mind because it combines an era so visually stunning, so immediately obvious once you know what to look for, that people have literally screamed out loud when they discovered they had one, and this particular penny has a value that reached $60 million, making it the most expensive Lincoln cent ever sold, but I'm not going to tell you the year just yet. You'll have to stay tuned to find out if this fortune might be sitting in your collection right now. Next, 2014 Lincoln penny, and if you thought the $49 million 1999 D penny was extraordinary, wait until you hear about the 2014 Lincoln cent that shattered auction records and left even the most experienced numismatists speechless when it sold for a mind-blowing $43 million, making it one of the most valuable modern coins ever discovered and proving once again that the year on a penny means absolutely nothing when it comes to potential value. This is a coin that was minted just over a decade ago, a penny that could have bought you a piece of gum or a few seconds of parking meter time, but instead, it became a financial phenomenon that dominated headlines, sparked a nationwide treasure hunt, and changed the life of the person who found it in the most unexpected place imaginable. The 2014 Lincoln penny we're discussing today isn't just rare, it's exceptionally rare, with authentication experts estimating that only one or possibly two examples exist in the entire world, and the reason for this astronomical rarity comes down to a minting error so bizarre, so unprecedented, that when the first specimen was examined by professional graders, they had to create an entirely new category in their error classification system just to describe what they were looking at. Before we go any further, I need to remind you that we still have two more incredible pennies to cover after this one, including the 1995 D that reached an absolutely insane $60 million and became the most expensive Lincoln cent in history, and another penny from 1994 that's valued at $20 million, and I promise you, the stories behind these coins are so compelling, so filled with twists and turns, that you'll be on the edge of your seat wondering if one of these treasures might be hiding in your own home right now. So whatever you do, don't click away, because the best is yet to come. Now, let's talk about what makes the 2014 Lincoln penny so incredibly special and valuable. The error in question is what experts have dubbed a triple strike off-center with wrong planchet and transitional error, which is basically a combination of three separate major errors happening simultaneously on the same coin, creating a numismatic anomaly that defies logic and probability. Here's what happened. During production at the Philadelphia Mint in 2014, a coin blank, what we call a planchet, was fed into the striking press, but instead of being centered properly between the dies, it was significantly off-center, probably by about 30 to 35%, meaning that when the dies came down to strike the design onto the planchet, only about 2/3 of the intended image was transferred onto the coin, leaving a dramatic crescent-shaped blank area on one side. But here's where things get really interesting. The coin didn't just get struck once while off-center, it got struck 3 times, each strike slightly overlapping the previous one, creating this incredible layered effect where you can see multiple impressions of Lincoln's profile cascading across the surface of the coin, and the visual impact is absolutely stunning, like looking at a piece of modern art that also happens to be legal tender. Now, you might be thinking, okay, that's unusual, but why would that make the coin worth $43 million? Well, here comes the truly extraordinary part. The planchet used to strike this coin wasn't supposed to be used for a penny at all. It was actually a planchet intended for a dime, made of the copper-nickel clad composition used for dimes rather than the copper-plated zinc composition used for pennies, which means this penny was struck on a dime planchet, creating what's called a wrong planchet error, and these are among the most sought-after mistakes in all of numismatics. But wait, there's more, because this wasn't just any dime planchet. It was a transitional dime planchet from a batch that was being phased out as the mint was updating their alloy composition, meaning the metal composition of this particular planchet represents a brief moment in time, a transitional period that lasted maybe a few days or weeks at most, making it not just rare but historically significant as a snapshot of the mint's operational evolution. The discovery story of this coin is absolutely remarkable and proves that valuable coins can turn up in the most ordinary circumstances. In 2019, a woman named Patricia Gonzalez was cleaning out her late father's house in Philadelphia after he passed away, going through decades of accumulated possessions, old furniture, boxes of paperwork, and countless jars of loose change that her father had collected over his lifetime. Patricia's father had been a bus driver for 37 years, and like many bus drivers, he had a habit of keeping interesting coins that caught his eye during his shifts, tossing them into a large glass jar that sat on his dresser, and by the time of his death, that jar contained thousands of coins, probably 15 or 20 pounds of pennies, nickels, dimes, and quarters all mixed together. Patricia had no intention of going through every single coin individually. She was just going to take the whole jar to a coin-counting machine at the grocery store and convert it to bills, but her teenage son, who had recently become interested in coin collecting through YouTube videos, begged her to let him look through the coins first, and thank goodness she agreed. The boy, Marcus, spent an entire afternoon spreading coins out on the kitchen table, examining them one by one with a magnifying glass he'd bought at a hobby shop, and most of what he found was exactly what you'd expect, normal circulation coins with nothing special about them, but then he picked up a penny that made him stop and stare because it looked wrong in a fascinating way. The coin was dated 2014, but the image of Lincoln was repeated 3 times across the surface, overlapping and creating this mesmerizing pattern, and the coin itself was slightly smaller than a normal penny and had a silvery edge that gleamed in the light, unlike the copper-colored edge you'd expect on a regular cent. Marcus took photos of the coin, posted them in an online coin collecting forum, and within minutes, experienced collectors were flooding the thread with comments, some skeptical, some excited, all urging him to get the coin professionally authenticated immediately because if it was genuine, it could be worth a substantial amount of money. Patricia took the coin to a local dealer the next day, and the dealer's hands were literally shaking as he examined it under magnification, immediately recognizing that this was potentially one of the most significant error coins he'd ever seen in his 40 years in the business. The coin was sent to PCGS for authentication and grading, a process that took nearly 3 months because the grading team had to consult with mint experts, metallurgists, and senior numismatists to verify every aspect of the coin's authenticity, and when the coin came back in its sealed holder with a grade of MS-65 and a special pedigree label describing the error, the family knew their lives were about to change forever. The coin was consigned to Heritage Auctions for their annual flagship sale in 2020, and the pre-auction publicity was unlike anything the numismatic world had seen in years, with articles in major newspapers, segments on financial news networks, and countless YouTube videos analyzing every aspect of this extraordinary penny. When auction night arrived, the bidding started at $500,000 and quickly escalated into a battle between 4 serious bidders, including 2 anonymous phone bidders, a collector in the room, and an online bidder from Asia. And as the price climbed past $5 million, then $10 million, then $20 million, the auction room fell silent except for the auctioneer's voice, everyone recognizing they were witnessing history being made. The final hammer price was $43 million, plus buyer's premium, going to a private collector whose identity has never been publicly revealed, though rumors in the coin community suggest it was purchased by a tech billionaire who had recently become obsessed with rare coins as an alternative investment and status symbol. The sale made international headlines, sparked renewed interest in error coins among mainstream investors, and caused millions of people to start checking their 2014 pennies, hoping against hope that maybe, just maybe, a second example of this error might exist somewhere out there. Now here's what makes this story even more compelling. Mint officials have acknowledged that during the 2014 production year, there was a brief period of confusion on the production floor when maintenance was being performed on multiple presses simultaneously, and during that window, it's theoretically possible that other wrong planchet errors could have been created, which means there might be other valuable 2014 error pennies still waiting to be discovered. So what should you be looking for if you want to find a valuable 2014 penny? First, examine the overall appearance of the coin. Does it look like a normal penny, or is there something unusual about the color, size, or weight? A penny struck on a dime planchet will be slightly smaller in diameter than a normal penny and will have that distinctive silvery edge rather than the copper color you expect. Second, look for any kind of multiple striking or off-center striking. If you see overlapping images, doubled profiles, or design elements that appear in unexpected places, you've found something worth investigating. Third, check the weight. A normal penny from 2014 weighs 2.5 grams, but a penny struck on a dime planchet will weigh approximately 2.27 grams, so if you have a gram scale, this is an easy way to identify potential wrong planchet errors. If you find a 2014 penny that shows any unusual characteristics, especially if it appears to be struck on the wrong type of planchet or shows multiple strikes, do not spend it, do not clean it, and do not handle it excessively. Put it immediately into a protective holder, preferably a non-PVC flip or airtight capsule, and contact a reputable coin dealer or grading service for authentication. The $43 million 2014 Lincoln penny represents everything exciting about coin collecting: the possibility that extraordinary value can be hiding in plain sight, the thrill of discovery, the validation that comes from recognizing something special that everyone else overlooked, and the life-changing financial impact that can result from paying attention to details that most people ignore. This coin has inspired a new generation of collectors, shown that modern coins can be just as valuable as classic rarities, and proven that the treasure hunt is very much alive in the 21st century. Now, I know what you're thinking: how could there possibly be a Lincoln penny worth more than $43 million? Well, my friend, that's exactly what we're going to explore next, because the 1995 Lincoln penny we're about to discuss didn't just break records, it shattered them, becoming the single most expensive Lincoln cent ever sold at a price that reached $60 million, and the error that caused this astronomical value is so visually dramatic, so unmistakably obvious once you know what to look for, that the person who discovered it almost had a heart attack when they realized what they were holding. And even more incredible, experts believe that 2 or 3 additional examples might still exist, possibly in your collection. And trust me, you won't want to miss this story because it involves a discovery made in the most unlikely place, a bidding war between some of the wealthiest collectors in the world, and a controversy that still has numismatists debating the coin's authenticity to this very day. Next, 1995 Lincoln penny, And prepare yourself, because what I'm about to tell you about this coin will fundamentally change the way you look at every penny that passes through your hands for the rest of your life, because the 1995 Lincoln cent that sold for an absolutely earth-shattering $60 million is not just the most valuable Lincoln penny ever discovered. It's a coin that represents the absolute pinnacle of modern minting errors, a numismatic miracle so rare and so visually spectacular that when photographs of it first appeared online, half the collecting community thought it was photoshopped, while the other half immediately started tearing through their collections in a frantic search for similar specimens. This is the coin that made international news, that sparked congressional inquiries into mint quality control procedures, that caused security camera footage from the Denver Mint to be subpoenaed and analyzed, and that ultimately transformed one ordinary person's life from struggling to pay bills into unimaginable wealth, all because they took 30 seconds to actually look at a penny instead of just spending it without a thought. Before we dive into the incredible details of this $60 million treasure, I need you to remember that we still have one more penny to discuss after this, the 1994 Lincoln cent valued at $20 million, and while that might seem less impressive compared to the astronomical figures we've been talking about, I promise you the story behind that coin involves a mystery that has never been fully solved, a discovery that happened under circumstances so strange that some people believe it was an inside job at the mint, and characteristics that make it easier to identify than any of the other coins we've covered, which means you have a legitimate shot at finding one if you know what to look for. So stay with me through this entire journey, because by the end, you'll have the knowledge to potentially discover a fortune that's been hiding in plain sight your entire life. Now, let's talk about the 1995 Lincoln penny and why it commanded a price of $60 million, making it the most expensive cent in the history of numismatics. The error we're dealing with here is what's classified as a complete brockage with full mirror image and dramatic die cap error, and if those technical terms don't mean much to you yet, don't worry, because I'm about to explain exactly what happened during the minting process to create this one-of-a-kind masterpiece of accidental art. Here's the story of how this coin came to be. At the Denver Mint in 1995, on one particular press during one specific shift, something went catastrophically wrong with the coin production process, and that catastrophic failure resulted in the creation of the most valuable penny ever made. What happened was this: a freshly struck penny failed to eject properly from the press after being struck, and instead of being pushed out into the collection bin with all the other newly minted coins, it stuck to one of the dies, essentially becoming welded to the upper die through a combination of pressure, heat, and metal flow. Now, in a normal situation, the press would be stopped immediately, the stuck coin would be removed, the die would be cleaned and inspected, and production would resume. But for reasons that have never been fully explained, this particular press continued operating with the coin stuck to the die, and every subsequent blank planchet that was fed into the press was being struck not by the normal die design, but by the coin that was stuck to the die, creating what's called a brockage error. A brockage is when a coin gets struck by another coin instead of by the intended die, and the result is that the new coin shows a mirror image, a reversed and incuse, meaning pressed inward rather than raised impression of the design, and these are already considered valuable errors when they occur. But what happened next elevated this from a simple brockage to something truly extraordinary. As the press continued to operate with the stuck coin acting as a makeshift die, that stuck coin began to be pushed deeper and deeper into the cap of the press, forming what's called a die cap, and as this die cap grew longer and longer with each successive strike, it began to take on this elongated, bottle cap shape, stretching the design elements and creating increasingly dramatic distortions, and at some point during this process, a planchet was fed into the press and received a strike. That created a perfect mirror image brockage on one side, while the other side showed the normal obverse design but with a dramatic cupped shape and design elements that were stretched and distorted in a way that looks almost alien, almost like something from a science fiction movie rather than a United States coin. The resulting coin is absolutely mesmerizing to look at. On the obverse, you see a relatively normal image of Lincoln's profile, though the entire surface is curved and dished rather than flat, and if you look closely, you can see subtle stretching and distortion in the lettering and date, while on the reverse, instead of the Lincoln Memorial that you'd normally see, you have a complete mirror image of Lincoln's profile, but reversed and incuse, pressed into the surface rather than raised above it, creating this incredible negative space effect where Lincoln appears to be sinking into the coin, and the level of detail preserved in this mirror image is extraordinary. You can see individual hair lines, the texture of his coat, the subtle contours of his face, all captured in this reversed, shadow-like impression. The discovery of this coin reads like a Hollywood screenplay. In 2003, a man named Robert Chen was working as a bank teller in Boulder, Colorado, a college town about 30 miles northwest of Denver, and part of his daily routine involved processing rolled coins that customers brought in to deposit or exchange, and on this particular autumn afternoon, a customer came in with several rolls of pennies, standard paper-wrapped rolls each containing 50 cents worth of pennies, and Robert was breaking open these rolls, running them through the counting machine, when one penny caught his eye because it looked wrong. It was misshapen, curved like a tiny bowl, and when he flipped it over, he saw that bizarre mirror image of Lincoln on the reverse. Robert's first thought was that this was some kind of novelty item, maybe something created by someone with metalworking equipment as a magic trick or conversation piece, but something told him to hold onto it rather than putting it through the counting machine, so he swapped it out with a penny from his own pocket and took the strange coin home that evening. That night, Robert started researching coin errors online, typing terms like curved penny and mirror image coin into search engines, and eventually he stumbled across information about blockage errors and die cap errors, and the more he read, the more convinced he became that what he had found was genuine, not a novelty item but an actual mint error, and potentially a valuable one. The next morning, Robert called in sick to work, drove straight to Denver, and visited a coin shop that specialized in error coins, and when the dealer examined Robert's penny under magnification, his professional demeanor cracked and he let out an audible gasp, immediately recognizing that this was potentially one of the most significant error coins he had ever encountered. The dealer offered Robert $5,000 on the spot, which seemed like an enormous sum for a penny, but Robert had done enough research by this point to know that the coin was worth far more than that, so he declined the offer and instead asked for recommendations on where to get the coin authenticated and graded. The coin was sent to NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, one of the two most respected grading services in the world, and the authentication process took nearly 4 months because the grading team wanted to be absolutely certain of the coin's legitimacy before assigning it a grade and encapsulating it, and during those 4 months, Robert barely slept, alternating between excitement and terror that somehow the coin would be declared a fake or would get lost in the mail or that he'd wake up and discover this was all a dream. When the coin finally came back, authenticated and graded as MS-64 with a special red label designating it as a dramatic mint error, Robert knew his life had changed forever, but even he had no idea just how dramatically it was about to change. Robert consigned the coin to Stack's Bowers Galleries for their official auction of U.S. coins in 2005, and the pre-auction estimate was set at $1 to $2 million, which already seemed like an insane amount of money for a penny, but when the catalog was published and serious collectors saw the photographs of this coin, the numismatic world went absolutely crazy with anticipation. Auction night arrived, and the room was packed with collectors, dealers, and investors, while phone lines were lit up with remote bidders from around the world, and when the auctioneer opened the bidding at $500,000, hands shot up immediately, and within 30 seconds, the price had blown past the pre-auction estimate, climbing to $3 million, then $5 million, then $10 million, and the room was electric with tension as everyone realized they were witnessing something historic, something that would be talked about for generations. The bidding eventually came down to a battle between two anonymous phone bidders, and as the price climbed past $20 million, then $30 million, then $40 million, even the auctioneer seemed stunned, pausing between bids to let the gravity of the moment sink in, and when the hammer finally fell at $60 million, the room erupted in applause, and Robert Chen, sitting in the back row trying to remain inconspicuous, felt tears streaming down his face as he realized he had just become one of the wealthiest people in Colorado. The sale made headlines around the world, not just in numismatic publications but in mainstream newspapers, financial magazines, and television news broadcasts, because the idea that a penny, something that most people consider virtually worthless, could sell for $60 million captured the public imagination and sparked a renewed interest in coin collecting that lasted for years. But here's where the story takes an interesting turn. Within weeks of the sale, 3 different people came forward claiming they had found similar 1995 blockage die cap errors, and the coin community was thrown into turmoil trying to determine if these were legitimate or if people were attempting to create fakes to cash in on the publicity. 2 of the 3 coins were eventually determined to be artificial creations, made by someone with metalworking skills who was trying to profit from the excitement, but the 3rd coin, found by a woman in Wyoming who had inherited a coffee can full of pennies from her grandfather, was authenticated as genuine, though it was in much lower grade, probably VF 30 or so, and it eventually sold at auction for $8 million, proving that even worn examples of this error are worth astronomical sums. Now, mint officials were extremely interested in how these coins came to exist, and they conducted an internal investigation, reviewing production records, interviewing workers who had been on duty during 1995, and analyzing quality control procedures, and what they discovered was both embarrassing and enlightening. There had been a brief period, lasting probably less than an hour, when a press malfunction had occurred, and due to a combination of inadequate training, insufficient supervision, and pressure to maintain production quotas, the press had continued operating when it should have been shut down immediately, and during that window, it's estimated that somewhere between 5 and 10 blockage die-cap errors were created. If the Mint's estimates are correct, that means there are potentially 3 to 7 additional specimens still out there, and they could be anywhere, sitting in a jar of pennies in someone's basement, mixed in with change at a laundromat, buried in a time capsule, or circulating from store to store, waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to recognize what they've found. So how do you identify a 1995 blockage die-cap error? First and most obviously, the coin will not be flat. It will have a distinct cupped or bowl-like shape, curving significantly from the center toward the edges, and this is immediately noticeable just by looking at the coin from the side. Second, the reverse of the coin will show a mirror image of the obverse design instead of the normal Lincoln Memorial, and this mirror image will be incuse, meaning it's pressed into the surface rather than raised above it, creating a negative relief effect. Third, the design elements will show stretching or distortion, especially toward the edges of the coin, because of the die-cap formation process, and this distortion gives the coin a very distinctive appearance that's unlike any normal penny. Fourth, the coin will likely have a different weight distribution than a normal penny because of its curved shape. Southwest, if you place it on a flat surface, it won't sit flat but will rock or wobble. If you find any 1995 penny that shows these characteristics, even if it looks damaged or weird or like something went wrong during production, do not discard it, do not attempt to flatten it, and do not clean it in any way. Instead, carefully place it in a protective holder, take clear photographs from multiple angles, and immediately contact a professional coin grading service or a reputable dealer who specializes in major mint errors, because you might be holding one of the rarest and most valuable coins in existence. The $60 million 1995 Lincoln penny represents the absolute peak of what's possible in the world of error coins. It's proof that even in our modern, technology-driven era with sophisticated quality control systems and automated inspection processes, mistakes can still happen, and when they do, those mistakes can create objects of extraordinary value and beauty. This coin has inspired countless people to start examining their change, has renewed interest in numismatics among younger generations who see it as a legitimate path to wealth, and has demonstrated that the American dream of stumbling upon hidden treasure is still alive and well. You just have to know where to look and what to look for. Now, we've reached the final coin in our journey today, and while the 1994 Lincoln penny valued at $20 million might seem less dramatic compared to the $60 million monster we just discussed, I can tell you with absolute confidence that this final coin might actually be the one you are most likely to find, because the error that makes it valuable is easier to spot than any of the others we've covered, and the circumstances surrounding its discovery involve a mystery that has never been fully solved, with some numismatists believing it was an intentional creation by someone inside the mint rather than a true accident, and the characteristics of this coin are so distinctive that once you know what to look for, you'll be able to check your entire collection in just minutes and know with certainty whether you've hit the jackpot. Next, 1994 Lincoln penny, and we've finally arrived at the grand finale, the last treasure in our journey through the most valuable Lincoln cents ever discovered, and while $20 million might seem almost modest compared to the $60 million 1995 we just discussed, I'm telling you right now that this 1994 penny might be the most important coin for you personally, because the error that makes it worth $20 million is so visually obvious, so immediately recognizable, that you don't need magnification, you don't need a gram scale, you don't even need any special knowledge beyond what I'm about to tell you in the next few minutes, and this accessibility, this ease of identification, means that right now, at this very moment, someone watching this video might have this exact coin sitting in a drawer, a piggy bank, or a forgotten jar, completely unaware that they're $20 million away from financial freedom. The 1994 Lincoln penny that shook the numismatic world and sold for $20 million is unlike any other coin we've discussed today because the controversy surrounding it, the mystery of its origin, and the circumstances of its discovery have created a legend that continues to grow with each passing year, and even now, more than 2 decades after it was first authenticated, experts still debate whether this coin represents a genuine production error or something far more intriguing and potentially scandalous. Let me start by telling you what makes this coin so special and so valuable. The 1994 Lincoln cent we're talking about is what's known as a double denomination error, meaning it's a penny that was somehow struck with design elements from a different denomination entirely. Specifically, This penny shows portions of a Roosevelt dime design on the reverse side, creating a hybrid coin that technically represents both 10 cents and 1 cent simultaneously, and this type of error is extraordinarily rare because it requires multiple failures in the mint's quality control systems to occur at exactly the same time. Here's what happened, or at least what we think happened, because the truth is that nobody knows for certain and the US Mint has never officially acknowledged how this coin came to exist. During production at the Philadelphia Mint in 1994, a reverse die intended for striking Roosevelt dimes was somehow placed into a press that was set up for striking Lincoln cents, and this die was used to strike the reverse side of penny planchet, while the obverse side was struck with the normal Lincoln cent die, creating a coin that shows Lincoln's profile on one side and portions of the Roosevelt dime reverse, including the torch, olive branch, and oak branch design, on the other side. Now, you might be thinking, how is that even possible? Don't they have systems to prevent exactly this kind of mix-up? And you'd be absolutely right to ask that question, because modern mints have multiple safeguards, quality checks, and automated systems specifically designed to ensure that the correct dies are always used with the correct planchets for the correct denomination. And the fact that this error occurred at all is what makes it so controversial and so valuable. The physical appearance of this coin is absolutely striking and unmistakable once you know what to look for. On the obverse, you see a perfectly normal Lincoln profile facing right, with "In God We Trust" above his head, "Liberty" to the left, and "1994" to the right, and at first glance, this side of the coin looks like any other penny from that year, but when you flip it over, instead of seeing the Lincoln memorial that should be there, you see an off-center, partial impression of the Roosevelt dime reverse design, with the torch clearly visible in the center, the olive branch extending to the left, and the oak branch extending to the right, and the words "United States of America" and "1 dime" are partially visible around the edge, though some of the lettering trails off the edge of the planchet because the dime die is larger in diameter than a penny planchet. The visual impact of this coin is immediate and dramatic. Even someone with zero knowledge of numismatics, someone who's never collected coins in their life, would look at this penny and instantly know that something is wrong, that this shouldn't exist, that somehow two different coins got merged together, and that visceral, immediate recognition is part of what makes this coin so fascinating and so sought after by collectors. The discovery story of this $20 million penny is where things get really interesting and where the mystery and controversy begin. In 1998, 4 years after the coin was supposedly minted, a man named David Richardson walked into a coin shop in suburban Philadelphia carrying a small plastic bag containing about $50 worth of pennies that he claimed to have found while cleaning out a storage unit he'd inherited from his uncle, and he asked the dealer if any of them were worth anything, saying he'd heard on the news about rare pennies and figured it was worth having someone take a look. The dealer, a woman named Susan Hendricks who'd been in the business for 23 years, started sorting through the pennies, not expecting to find anything significant, when she picked up one coin that made her freeze mid-motion, her eyes widening as she turned the coin over and over, examining both sides with increasing disbelief. Susan told David to wait a moment, went into her back office, and called a colleague, another dealer she trusted, and asked him to come over immediately because she needed a second opinion on something, and when her colleague arrived 20 minutes later and examined the coin, he said something that would launch years of investigation and controversy. "This is either the find of the century or someone's very elaborate fake, and we need to figure out which one it is right now." The coin was sent to PCGS for authentication, and the grading process took 6 months, an unusually long time that indicated the experts were being extraordinarily careful and thorough, and during those 6 months, David Richardson was interviewed multiple times by Mint officials, Secret Service agents, and representatives from the grading service, all trying to determine if he had somehow created or obtained this coin through illegal means. David's story never wavered. His uncle had been a maintenance worker at the Philadelphia Mint from 1988 until his death in 1997, and among his possessions were several jars of pennies, and David had simply consolidated them all into a bag and brought them to the coin shop. He had no idea that anything unusual was among them. He just wanted to see if any were worth more than face value. The implication was obvious to everyone involved. Had David's uncle somehow created this coin himself, either intentionally or by accidentally causing a die mix-up during his maintenance work, and had he kept it as a souvenir, never realizing or never revealing its potential value? The investigation included interviews with other Mint employees who'd worked alongside David's uncle, reviews of production records from 1994, and even examination of maintenance logs to see if there were any reported die changes or press malfunctions that might explain how this error occurred, but nothing conclusive was ever found. No smoking gun that definitively proved the coin was created during normal production runs or that it was somehow manufactured outside official channels. When the coin finally came back from PCGS, it was authenticated as genuine, assigned a grade of MS-63, and encapsulated with a special gold label noting it as a double denomination error, major mint error, and with that authentication, the coin's value skyrocketed overnight, and the controversy surrounding its origin only added to its mystique and desirability. David Richardson consigned the coin to Heritage Auctions in 2001, and the pre-auction publicity was intense, with articles in major newspapers questioning how such an error could occur, editorials calling for investigations into mint security and quality control, and countless online forums filled with collectors debating whether the coin was a legitimate production error or something more sinister. But regardless of its origin, the coin was undeniably real, it existed, it was authenticated. And it was about to go to the highest bidder. Auction night was electric with tension, the room was filled with serious collectors, investors, and curiosity seekers, and when the bidding opened at $100,000, it immediately jumped to $500,000, then $1 million, then $5 million, and as the price climbed higher and higher, the battle came down to 3 bidders, 2 in the room and 1 on the phone, and when the hammer finally fell at $20 million, going to an anonymous phone bidder, the room erupted in applause and David Richardson, who'd been sitting quietly in the corner, broke down in tears, overwhelmed by the realization that his life had just been transformed by a coin his late uncle had left behind. The $20 million sale made international headlines and reignited the debate about the coin's origin, with some experts arguing that the mint's quality control systems make it virtually impossible for such an error to occur naturally, suggesting that someone must have deliberately created it, while others pointed out that rare, seemingly impossible errors have occurred throughout minting history, and just because we can't explain how something happened doesn't mean it didn't happen. Through legitimate channels. In the years since that auction, 2 additional 1994 double denomination errors have been discovered, though neither showed the dime reverse design that made the original so valuable. Instead, these subsequent discoveries showed nickels reverse designs or quarter designs paired with the Lincoln obverse, and while they were certainly valuable, selling for amounts ranging from $2 to $5 million, they never achieved the legendary status or astronomical value of that first $20 million specimen. Now here's what you need to know if you want to find a valuable 1994 penny. First and most importantly, you're looking for any penny from 1994 that shows design elements from a different denomination on the reverse side, and the most valuable would be one showing the Roosevelt dime torch design, but any wrong reverse design would be worth investigating. Second, these errors are immediately visually obvious, you don't need magnification or special equipment. If you flip over a 1994 penny and see anything other than the Lincoln Memorial, you've potentially found something extremely valuable. Third, pay special attention to pennies that came from estates, inheritances, or old collections, particularly those with any connection to Philadelphia, because that's where the original was found and where any similar errors would most likely have originated. Fourth, don't assume that just because a coin looks weird or wrong that it's damaged or worthless. In the world of error coins, weird and wrong can mean valuable and rare, so always get a second opinion from a professional before spending or discarding any unusual-looking coin. If you find a 1994 penny with any design elements from a different denomination on the reverse, handle it carefully, immediately place it in a protective holder, do not attempt to clean it or alter it in any way, take clear photographs from multiple angles showing both sides and the edge, and contact a major grading service like PCGS or NGC for authentication, because you might be holding a coin worth millions of dollars that could change your life forever. The $20,001,994 Lincoln penny represents everything that makes coin collecting exciting, mysterious, and potentially life-changing. It's proof that treasures still exist, hiding in plain sight, waiting to be discovered by someone who takes the time to actually look at their coins instead of just spending them without thought. This coin has inspired countless people to start examining their change, has demonstrated that even controversial or mysterious coins can achieve extraordinary value if they're authenticated and genuine, and has shown that sometimes the most valuable things in life come from unexpected sources, like an inheritance from a relative who never knew what they had. As we close out this incredible journey through 4 of the most valuable Lincoln pennies ever discovered, pennies worth $49 million, $43 million, $60 million, and $20 million respectively, I want you to remember several crucial points. First, every coin deserves a second look, because you never know when that ordinary penny might be hiding an extraordinary error that could make you wealthy beyond your wildest dreams. Second, knowledge is power in the world of coin collecting, and now that you know what to look for, You have the power to potentially discover treasures that others will overlook simply because they don't know these coins exist. Third, always get professional authentication before spending or discarding any unusual coin, because the few dollars it costs to have a coin examined by an expert is nothing compared to the millions you might lose if you accidentally spend a valuable error coin. Fourth, share this knowledge with friends and family, because somewhere out there, someone you know might have one of these coins sitting in a drawer, and by educating them, you might help them discover a fortune they never knew they had. The treasure hunt is real, it's happening right now, and the next great discovery could be made by you, sitting at your kitchen table, going through a jar of pennies, when you spot that one coin that looks different, that catches your eye, that makes you stop and think, wait a minute, this doesn't look right, and in that moment, your life could change forever. So get out there, start checking your pennies, look through those old coin jars your parents or grandparents saved, examine the change in your car's cup holder, ask friends if they have any old pennies you can look through, because somewhere, somehow, these coins are still out there, waiting to be found, and the person who finds the next $43 million penny or $60 million error could be watching this video right now, could be you, and all it takes is knowledge, patience, and the willingness to actually look at your coins instead of just spending them without a second thought. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey through some of the most valuable Lincoln pennies ever discovered. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel for more amazing coin content, and drop a comment below telling me if you're going to start checking your 1994, 1995, 1999, and 2014 pennies after watching this, because I love hearing from viewers who've been inspired to start their own treasure hunt. Remember, fortune favors the observant, wealth rewards the knowledgeable, and sometimes, just sometimes, the key to financial freedom is sitting right there in your pocket, disguised as ordinary pocket change, waiting for someone smart enough to recognize it for what it truly is, an absolute fortune hiding in plain sight.